All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a massive idea. What happens when you bring AI into the world of government? We're talking about simulating the future of policy. Let's go. Okay, just imagine this for a second. What if a government could see the future? Not in a crystal ball kind of way, but what if they could test a new policy, say a new tax or a big healthcare change, and see its impact before it ever becomes law? Sounds like sci-fi, right? Well, it's not. That's the power of policy simulation, and that's exactly what we're diving into today.
So, why is this such a big deal? To really get it, we've got to look at how things work right now. A lot of the time, governments are kind of forced to govern in the dark. They're stuck reacting to problems after they happen instead of getting ahead of them. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? You've got inefficient services, money getting lost in the system, corruption. These aren't just separate issues, they're symptoms of a much bigger problem. Think about it. You have all these different government agencies, and they're all working in their own little bubbles with their data totally disconnected. It makes it almost impossible to see the whole picture. So what do you get? Slow, reactive decisions made with only half the information. But what if you could connect all those dots? Well, that's exactly the idea behind a proposal from the Young Eagles of Transformation in Kenya. They're putting forward this concept called Eagle AI, and it's designed to do just that, to create one single smart system that ties the whole government together. Okay, so what is this AI co-pilot? The first thing to get straight is this isn't about replacing people with robots. Not at all. It's about giving them a superpower, a tool that helps them work smarter and, honestly, see into the future a little bit. The best way to picture it is like this. Right now, you can think of all the different government departments as disconnected parts of a body. The Ministry of Health doesn't really know what the Ministry of Finance is doing in real time. Eagle AI is designed to be the central nervous system that connects everything. It lets information flow freely and instantly, so the whole system can make smart, coordinated decisions. So here's the key idea. Eagle AI isn't just another app or a piece of software. It's designed to be a fundamental, integrated AI infrastructure. Its whole job is to be the glue. It pulls together all that scattered data from everywhere, runs the numbers automatically, and then hands policymakers clear, simple insights they can actually use. And this is basically how it would fit together. You see, down at the bottom, you've got all the systems that are already in place, for taxes, for procurement, for public services. Eagle AI doesn't rip and replace all that. Instead, it just sits on top, like a new intelligence layer, and pulls the data it needs from all of them. It's a way to make everything smarter without having to tear it all down and start over. Okay, now we get to the really cool part. The part that's a total game changer. Actually simulating the future of a policy. This is where you turn raw data into actual foresight. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This is the whole shebang. Policy simulation is basically like a crystal ball, but it's powered by real data. We're talking about giving leaders true decision intelligence. The system uses AI to build a model of how a new policy would actually ripple through the country. What's its impact on the economy, on specific communities, on public services? You get to see all of that before you pull the trigger. So here's how it would work in practice. Look over on the left. A policymaker has an idea. Let's say they want to change agricultural subsidies. They plug that proposal into the system. Then the AI engine in the middle gets to work. It taps into massive, real-world but anonymized data sets. Stuff like tax records, crop yields, employment stats, everything. It runs thousands, maybe millions of simulations to see what happens. And what comes out on the other side isn't just a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's a detailed report showing the most likely outcomes, both economic and social. I mean, the upside here is just enormous. You're moving away from gut feelings and educated guesses to governing by actual evidence. This helps you avoid those terrible unintended consequences that can mess things up for years. It allows for real strategic planning. Heck, you could even test drive a few different versions of a policy to see which one works best. Think about it. That's the difference between building a hospital exactly where people need it most versus building one in the wrong place where it just sits empty. Okay, so the vision is amazing, but it immediately brings up a huge practical question, right? How on earth do you build and roll out something this complex, especially when you're talking about sensitive government data? The security has to be absolutely airtight. And this quote right here, it gets to the very core of the answer. You have to change how you think about it. This is not another AI tool. AI as infrastructure. We're not talking about just buying another app subscription. We're talking about building a foundational piece of infrastructure, something the government actually owns and controls from the ground up. And to build that infrastructure, You need a practical engine to run it. I mean, you can't just upload a nation's most sensitive data to a regular commercial cloud platform. The risks are just way too high. And that's where this model called SPAO, or Self-Provisioning AI Operations, comes in. This is the how. It's the technical framework that actually makes it possible to build something like Eagle AI securely.
And get this, the whole process is designed to be what they call zero touch. It's fully automated. A government agency can literally just sign up, pick what they want to do with it, and the SPAO system does the rest. It automatically sets up a secure, totally isolated server and deploys the entire AI stack. No human has to touch it. No long delays, no complicated manual setup. It's incredibly fast and efficient.
This chart really spells out the difference. Think about your typical cloud software, what they call SaaS. Your data is usually mixed in on shared servers, and the vendor owns the whole setup. For a government, that's just a non-starter. But with the SPAO model, you get something called single-tenant isolation. That's a fancy way of saying the government gets its own private, dedicated box. They own the infrastructure. They own their data. They have total control over security and compliance. And they're not locked into one vendor. It's security and sovereignty built in from the very beginning.
Okay, so we've covered the problem, the big vision, and even the nitty-gritty of how you could build it. But let's zoom back out. What does this all actually mean for everyday people, for the citizens of a country? Well, the hoped-for outcomes are pretty clear. When you can track revenue and spot fraud in real time, you get a huge boost in transparency. When you automate repetitive tasks and use your resources smarter, you improve efficiency. And what do those two things lead to? The thing that really matters: better public services. Faster, more responsive, and just better for everyone. So, let's wrap up the key takeaways here. First, this is all about shifting government from being reactive to being proactive. It's about moving away from guesswork and towards decisions based on hard evidence. And we've seen that secure deployment models like SBA actually make this possible, even for high-stakes environments. The end goal? A government with way more accountability and a whole lot more transparency. And that leaves us with one last, pretty big question to think about. If a government really could see the likely future of its biggest decisions, what should we ask it to look for first? What problems would you want it to solve? What kind of future would we choose to build with a tool like that? And that, right there, is the real potential of all of this.